How many times did we all hear that? In the past, games were better, old games were harder, old games had the spirit. And well, let's be honest, at least once, almost each of us had the same thoughts. But is it actually so? And if yes, why? Welcome folks, I'm Senator and this video is a mix of old factors, attempt of objective analysis and possible answer to the question what's going on with the game industry and what can we do to make it better. Let's talk about this step by step, thinking about separate parts firstly, then combining them in one piece and then making the conclusions. The games were harder. Yes, that's even no doubt. Old school console games and first PC games were very hard. They make you sweat while playing. But was it good? Of course it is. When the game is hard, when it's challenging, it makes you think, it forces you to train, it makes you become better in it. So when you're finally finishing it, you're a freaking pro, guru, Jedi. You can replay that game again with your eyes closed. And that gives you a really rewarding feelings. So you can say, ha, I beat you, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy, huh? When the game is hard, you're feeling you're actually playing it, not just follow the storyline, pressing the buttons. The influence of time. If we look into the time span that was about from 25 to like 17 years ago, we can see one of the reasons of difference in gaming industry today. What percent of people had PCs during that days and now? And what, if more important, what is the average age of people who played video games, especially on PC, then and now? In that time span, video games, especially for PCs, were created, let's say, by bearded guys for bearded guys. Term of gamer, if it would be present that days, would describe mostly a person older than 25. Now, when computers became much more common scene and much more cheaper as well, and so became a product of everyone's usage, the average age of a gamer was decreased drastically, and so young people became the biggest part of gaming community. In past, developers did not care about how hard this game will be, which professional actors they need to hire to voice it, to give it additional PR, will their in-game dialogue lines offend people with another skin color, orientation, religion and so on. In general, we can say developers mostly were left with their own devices. And so, they were able to focus on game ambience, jokes and easter eggs, instead of focusing on hidden marketing tricks and 1 million polygon objects. Now, when the average gamer became like twice or even more younger, game publishers came to conclusion they need to make games easier to navigate and play. Initially, there is nothing bad in it. And in general, that's pretty obvious solution. Industry is always changing when auditory is changing. Internet revolution. Born a single-player scene, with the spread of internet worldwide, a complete new path was opened for video game companies. If people can now chat together, why we can't let them play together? Multiplayer online gaming was a boom. Started from local networks, heroes of Might and Magic 3 and the Quake games, online gaming then transformed into projects with huge servers that allowed millions of players to play and have fun together in legendary games like Lineage and World of Warcraft. Millions of people were totally addicted to MMO games, spending all their free time and often just all their time in online games. With the appearing of online, the competition aspect in gaming was born. Players realized they now can not just tell their friends something like "Hey, I finished this much faster than you" or "Hey, my character level was higher than yours." So, player can actually demonstrate his superiority online directly to other players in real time. Better equipment, higher level, better skill and reaction. All these attributes that were not present before in gaming became absolute real parameters that you could demonstrate and brag about them. Somewhere during this time span, game publishers realized that they can earn money on that too, not just by selling the games, but making people pay additional money for feeling themselves better than other players. But after some time, many players started to skip MMO games because to, let's say, dominate in MMO, it was clearly seen you need to spend huge amount of time there. Game publishers had a lesson from that, and so we go to the next point. Need more gold or lure technique. After about 10 years of, let's say, MMO era, online games started to transform from MMO to MOBA genre. And that transformation became the most successful in gaming history. Successful, first of all, for game publishers and their bank accounts, of course. That also gave birth to, no doubt, such a great scene in gaming as cybersport. That took online gaming to the absolutely next level. And I personally like this moment. It is much better to have a battle between, let's say, American and Russian teams in Counter-Strike than to have a real war, you know? No, of course I'm not saying games are a cure from war, but they are just showing us more civilized ways to have competition, as well as usual traditional physical sport does. So, companies understood that it is much more effective to give people a free online game that costs nothing and, what is also important, do not require huge amount of time to play. You don't need to play for 2 years without eating and resting to have a Dota or League of Legends game. It is free, and game usually lasts from 20 minutes to 1 hour only. Sounds like an easy and fun, yeah? Oh, but wait, what's that rank system? Oh, so I need to go through 5 divisions to appear between the best players, Oh, so I can show that I am better equipped by buying this skin for my hero. Well, why not? It is looking cool and it will cost me only like $2. Okay, so today, just as 30 minutes of playing and just $2 for that cute skin. And so, at the end of the year, this person suddenly noticed that we spent more than 2000 hours in the game and more than $500 on the cute hero skins. Wait, but wasn't the game free and wasn't the match in it lasting for 30 minutes only initially? Wrong way of social influence. First of all, I want to clearly state, I absolutely realize that our world is still full of hate. Hate, once again based on skin color, orientation, religion, physique, level of material wealth and tons of other reasons. Well, I'm living in Ukraine after all, a post-USSR country where level of discrimination is just, well, let's say overwhelming. But well, enough I think, you got the point here. At the same time, our era is an era of internet and freedom of speech. Thanks to resources like YouTube, social networks and different petition websites, voice of anyone can be heard. But somehow it happened that, let's say, certain group of people started to do that in absolutely wrong way. I do not have anything about people with other skin color, but please tell me what a black guy can even possibly do in medieval Poland. How can an open gay be a knight commander in army? During that times, first one could be there only a slave and second one would be most likely burnt alive before even have a chance to earn some rank in army. Somehow, games started to offend so many people and they started just simply a war against game industry, making protests, petitions and public hunting in social networks. But today, a big company just can't ignore the blame if it's spreaded in social networks and internet, even if it is absolutely ridiculous. And so, these groups of people forced many game companies to put black knights in England of 10th century, gays as army commanders, superheroes with 100 kilos of excess weight and so on. Explaining all of that by that otherwise it might offend someone. Well, once again, I have nothing about that, but I don't understand when certain parts of community forces game companies to place irrational things inside or simply things that the game initially doesn't supposed to have at all. Guys, that is a game, it will always offend someone. But if you're not a crazy psycho of course, if you will shoot, let's say, black guy in the game, you will never become racist because of it. If you're playing Mortal Kombat, you will not start killing people on streets with your woodcutter axe, right? Well, I think my point is clear here. What do we have as summary? So, does the problem exist? Yes, it is. Game industry is changing each day, trying to respond to modern challenges as well as trying to earn more on the games. But at some key points, many of game companies do it absolutely wrong. absolutely easy games that are not even interesting, huge amount of microtransactions that now appear in more and more often even in a single-player games, absolutely irrational character appearances done to by any chance not to offend someone, and so on and so on and so on. Combining this all together, we see a majority of video games that completely lost their flavor, became flat, sometimes even boring milking machines. But at the same time, there is a beam of light. There are still a lot of great examples of hard games. Remember the Dark Souls series, Demon Souls series, or just freshly released Cuphead and so on. Games with absolutely thrilling storylines and dialogue lines, Witcher 3, and as one of the latest examples, Divinity Original Sin 2 or the Hellblade. That are still huge amount of great games that still have that spirit we always wanted from the games. But as a result of being mostly minorities, this sector of gaming mostly moved to little separate game studios and indie developers. CD Projekt Red, Ninja Theory, Larian Studios. That's just a few examples of that teams who keep producing amazing gaming content without almost any flaws of current gaming industry. So at least let us help them to have a success, huh? What can we do? It is simple. We are the same part of society as everyone else. Exactly me and you, my friend, are the same part of society. And we have a voice too, voice that can be heard. But, as always, we should start from ourselves. If you are tired of boring games and microtransactions hell, maybe, first of all, you need to check how much money you spend on League of Legends skins. And maybe you need to check out some indie developers instead of always using Steam sales. Don't get me wrong, I am not calling you for a boycott of MOBA games or Mass Effect Andromeda. Sorry. I am not calling you for starting a war with tolerance. No. What I'm talking about is a constructive consuming of game industry products and constructive replies on game industry moves. If they see a lot of players decreased their microtransactions amount and spent, let's say, 3 times more hours in that indie game and bought 3 additional DLCs for it, that may force them to think, what should we change maybe? Of course, one person can change nothing, but all huge changes always began from only one person after all. We need to talk with game companies with our actions and our choices. At least, I think that is more effective way than just to sitting and repeating old games were better. We are gamers, we are the part of game industry and we can make it better together. But until we will silently consume everything industry is giving us, they will milk something like Skyrim for 3 and 5 more years. I'm also more than sure in that too. Everything is in our own hands. What can I tell to game dev studios? Well, I'm a realist. My channel is only 16,000 subs, not even 16 millions. I am not that type of game bloggers or game journalist who has huge reputation in game dev, and so maybe some guys will ever listen to him. But if just for a few seconds I can imagine that, I would say the next. Guys, we love you. Honestly, we do. But please, do not consider us a cash cows. Do not consider us a consumer mass. Consider us as personalities who will love you 10 times more, who will praise you if you start to remember the reasons video game appeared. Video games appeared to give people chance to feel themselves as the book or movie's heroes for real. Video games were created to give people same emotions as great book can give. Tears, smiles, just with the great graphics and challenging, rewarding gameplay. Make games to not please someone, but to make a game that will rock. So please, start to respect us and remember that we all are one big gaming family. Thank you.